Chapter 750. Who would have thought that it was actually a sleeping lion? Xiao Chun calmly raised the wine bowl in his hand and took a sip, completely ignoring the fearful gazes directed at him. Jingyu glanced sideways at Xiao Chun, her eyes full of smiles. She had not discussed anything with Xiao Chun, but Xiao Chun had been able to accurately predict what she wanted to do and cooperate with her with such tacit understanding. Threats and rewards coexisted, shocking and convincing everyone present. "Ah, little brother, you have good skills." A fierce-looking man stood up first and looked at Xiao Chun with admiration. Seeing that Xiao Chun did not react, he did not get angry. He only scratched his head awkwardly and said, "If this lady wants to know what happened on Eagle Mountain, I can tell you. I am Jia Meng." The burly man cupped his hands towards Jingyu in a heroic manner. The moment the man's name was announced, the rest of the people in the relay station gasped. They looked at Jia Meng in horror and exclaimed, "Could you be the Jia Meng who escaped death from the Mo clan's caravan?" "That's right," Jia Meng replied in a low voice. 3 months ago, the Mo family's caravan passed by Eagle Mountain Road. A total of 123 merchants were killed by wolves. I, Jia Meng, was the only one who managed to escape with my life. Jia Meng's voice was steady and powerful. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone in the relay station looked at Jia Meng in a different light. At this moment, Jia Meng lifted up his shirt and revealed the wounds all over his body. The wounds were all left behind by the wolf's claws and teeth. Immediately, everyone's faces revealed looks of admiration. More than 80 of my brothers died at the hands of wolves. If there is anyone who knows about Eagle Mountain, I will say that I know everything. Is there anyone else who dares to say that he knows more than me? Jia Meng's dark eyes scanned the surroundings as he spoke. When everyone received Jia Meng's gaze, they all lowered their heads and turned around. No one dared to speak. "Big brother, are you willing to tell us what happened at Eagle Mountain?" Jingyu looked at Jia Meng with a slight smile. She tilted her head and asked, "Pa, with good wine as a gift, there is no harm in telling." Jia Meng laughed loudly and walked towards Jingyu's table. Under everyone's gaze, he slowly sat down. After everyone was seated, Jingyu politely poured a large bowl of wine for Jia Meng. "Big brother, you are a brave man to be able to escape from the wolves. Let me toast to you." Hearing Jingyu's words, Jia Meng laughed heartily. He drank the wine poured by Jingyu without hesitation and accepted Jingyu's praise. "My life was exchanged for the lives of my brothers." Jia Meng put down the bowl in his hand heavily and said in a low voice, "My berserker group had 80 brothers, but I was the only one left alive that night. If my brothers hadn't risked their lives to hold back the wolves, I wouldn't have been able to survive." Jia Meng's voice was filled with pain. In a trance, he seemed to have returned to that night. His 80 brothers were cheering excitedly as they set off on their journey. This was the first mission of the new year. At that time, the youngest of his brothers was only 15 years old. It was the first time he had followed them on their journey to protect merchants. He chattered non-stop along the way, thinking that after completing this mission, he would be able to get his first share of money. Among them, there was a man who had just gotten married. He kept talking about his wife at home, causing his brothers to laugh at him. Chapter 751. There were also those men who had just become fathers. They often wondered if their children would look like their mothers or fathers when they grew up. Those who were still boys were envious. They kept saying that they would confess their love to the girl of their dreams after this trip was over. Everything seemed so perfect, but it all ended in Eagle Mountain. Jia Meng. Jia Meng saw with his own eyes that his brother was screaming crazily. Using his flesh and blood, he threw himself at the wolf and hugged the wolf's head tightly, allowing the wolf's sharp claws to pierce his stomach. "Avenge us!" Jia Meng saw his brothers being torn apart by the wolves with bloodshot eyes. His ears were filled with angry roars. Everyone seemed to have placed their hopes of survival on him at that moment. His life was exchanged for the lives of more than 80 brothers. He carried the blood feud of more than 80 brothers on his back. Do you really think that the wolves of Eagle Mountain just appeared there by accident? Jia Meng took a big gulp of strong alcohol. His eyes were slightly moist and his voice was heavy. He looked at Jingyu and Xiao Chen as he asked slowly, "What do you mean?" Jingyu's heart trembled when she heard this. She looked at Jia Meng with uncertainty. 5 caravans that passed by Eagle Mountain were all eaten by wolves. Jia Meng pursed his lips and said, "These 5 caravans belonged to the Mo family. The Mo family is the most powerful family in the desert. Their shops are all over the northwest Great Desert. They are a giant. The Berserker Group's job is to protect these caravans and escort them to their destination. It's not like we didn't encounter wolves in the desert." Jia Meng seemed to have adjusted his emotions. He pursed his lips and said, "But the wolves we encountered that night were different from the ones we encountered before. Those wolves were organized and disciplined. They even bit people on sight like crazy. You definitely don't know what the last thing I saw when I was running away was." Jia Meng took a deep breath and looked gravely at Jingyu and Xiao Chen. He said, "I saw a person. A person sitting on a wolf." Jingyu and Xiao Chen's eyes widened in fear when they heard this. "What? I knew you would react this way. How is it? Do you feel very fearful? I was just like you." Jia Meng looked at Jingyu and Xiao Chen's expressions and smiled proudly. Fortunately, he wasn't the only one. Jingyu was terrified, but her fear and Jia Meng's fear were 2 completely different things. What terrified Jingyu was that from Jia Meng's words, there was actually someone who could command the wolves. What was going on? I was scared out of my wits. I thought I was seeing things, but I wasn't. Jia Meng took a deep breath and said, "When I was running away, I heard melodious music coming from the wolves. The wolves seemed to be able to understand the music and retreated like the tide." "What did you say? Music?" The more Jingyu listened, the more confused she became. She had originally wondered if there was a second person with abnormal pupils in this world who could command a pack of wolves. But now that Jia Meng had said this, she suddenly felt conflicted. Why was she becoming more and more confused? Chapter 752. I don't know if I'm confused. Jia Meng shook his head helplessly and said, "At that time, my life was hanging by a thread, so it's normal for me to have auditory hallucinations. However, I can confirm that it was a person. If I'm not wrong, that person must be the girl with different pupils who's causing an uproar in the continent." "What?" Jingyu was completely dumbfounded this time. She stared at Jia Meng in disbelief. How did the girl with different pupils turn into someone else in the blink of an eye? "In order to find out the truth, I've been hiding my identity and infiltrating the Mo clan for the past 3 months. Finally, I found some clues." Jia Meng saw Jingyu's shocked expression and took a deep breath before saying, "I heard that 3 months ago, before my brother accepted the mission, something earth-shattering happened in the Mo clan." "What happened?" Jingyu looked at Jia Meng with a conflicted expression as she asked. "I heard that 4 months ago, a talented man entered the Mo clan and became a guest of the Mo clan. However, one day, something happened and that man suddenly turned against the Mo clan. The outside world said that this man defiled the eldest daughter of the Mo clan and was caught red-handed by the Mo clan's old master. After that?" Jingyu blinked and asked Jia Meng. "After that?" Jia Meng revealed a cold smile and said, "This man was sentenced to death and hanged in the Mo clan. His corpse was hung above the Mo clan's castle and was cursed by everyone." "What?" Jingyu was slightly stunned. Listening to this series of events, it didn't seem wrong. Wasn't it the man's fault for defiling the eldest daughter of the Mo clan? However, there seemed to be something wrong. What was wrong? Who was this man? Jingyu asked curiously. "He's handsome and talented, and his martial arts skills are even more extraordinary." Jia Meng said indifferently, "At that time, this man had a good reputation in the desert. If it weren't for the Mo clan's invitation, he wouldn't have become a guest of the Mo clan." "That's not right." Jingyu frowned slightly and said, "It is impossible for the eldest daughter of the Mo family to not be famous. This man is so talented and has received good reviews. How could he possibly taint the eldest daughter of the Mo family? This is not right." "I didn't say it was right." Jia Meng's lips curled into a cold smile as he said, "Do you know of another rumor about 9th young master in the desert?" "What is it?" Jingyu blinked and asked. Infatuated with one person, searching for a wife for thousands of miles. Before Jia Meng could say anything, Fang Zicheng suddenly spoke. Jing Yu and Jia Meng both looked at Fang Zicheng. Ninth young master is dead? Fang Zicheng seemed a little melancholy and puzzled as he looked at Jia Meng and asked. Before Jia Meng could answer, he continued, "He saved my life before the Dragon Gate. I asked him what his name was and he said Child Jiao. I asked him where he was going. He said he was searching for a wife for thousands of miles in the desert. I laughed at how infatuated he was with one person. He laughed and left. He gave me a dart." As Fang Zicheng spoke, he raised his hand and took out the dart hidden at his waist. The dart had the word 9 engraved on it. He said that when we met in the desert, I would be able to see him and his wife reunited. Fang Zicheng stared at the dart in a daze. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were silent. Jia Meng sighed deeply and looked at Jing Yu. "Do you understand now?" Chapter 753. Would you believe that such an infatuated man would travel thousands of miles just to find his wife have sullied the eldest daughter of the Mo family? Jia Meng shook his head in disdain, his eyes filled with sorrow. "His wife?" Jing Yu pursed her lips and asked. "Sigh." Jia Meng sighed deeply. He raised his hand and downed another bowl of wine. He sighed and said, "I've spent 3 months investigating. If I'm not wrong, the 9th young lord's wife is the one commanding the wolves. Do you know why the 9th young lord is called the 9th young lord?" Jia Meng asked mysteriously as he looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. Jing Yu's heart skipped a beat when she heard this. She thought that the following words would be the most important, so she listened attentively. "The 9th young lord is the Tokyo, the 9th emperor's, Xiao Chen." Jia Meng's expression was quite solemn as he spat out such a sentence. Suddenly, everyone present was dumbfounded. They stared at Jia Meng with their eyes wide open. Even Xiao Chen, who was sitting on the side, had a crack on his unchanging face. 9th young lord is 9th royal uncle? The strange look on Jing Yu's face became even more intense as she looked at Jia Meng in confusion. "That's right," Jia Meng answered confidently. He looked at Jing Yu with determination and said, "The person commanding the wolves must be a woman. It must be the woman with the different pupils, the 9th imperial concubine, Jing Yu." Jing Yu and Xiao Chen looked at Jia Meng in a daze. They couldn't find the words to describe their current feelings. "How do you know?" Jing Yu held back for a long time before she finally managed to squeeze out this sentence and asked. "I guessed it." Jia Meng's answer was smooth. "Fuck, how could you say it so confidently when you're guessing? It's as if you've really seen the two people in front of you as the 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine." Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's faces instantly darkened. Think about it. Who else in the world could be as capable as the 9 emperors? Who didn't know about the relationship between the 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine? Now that the 9th imperial concubine was called a demon and escaped, wouldn't it make sense for the 9th emperors to chase after her? Let's talk about that wolf pack. If it wasn't someone with different pupils, who would be able to command the wolf pack? Furthermore, this pack of wolves had specifically targeted the Mo family members. Furthermore, their attacks were ruthless and merciless. If it wasn't for a deep hatred, who would do such a thing? Isn't it obvious enough? Jia Meng's words were righteous. If Jing Yu and Xiao Chen weren't directly involved, after listening to Jia Meng's analysis, it really did seem like that was the case. However, the two real 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine were sitting here. How could the 9th young lord and the person who commanded the wolf pack be the 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine? That was pure nonsense. Jing Yu laughed dryly. She didn't know what to say. Finally, she pursed her lips and said, "So that's how it is. So all of this happened because the Mo family killed the 9th young lord, which led to the incident at Eagle Mountain. Then why are you here this time?" "I'm going to Eagle Mountain again. I'm going to talk to the wolf tamer." Jia Meng took a deep breath and said, "What? You're going to go alone?" Jing Yu's eyes widened when she heard this. She looked at Jia Meng in shock and fear as she asked. Chapter 754. Yes, for my brother's sake I must go. Jia Meng took a deep breath and clenched his fists. The Mo clan's debt must be repaid, and I must get my brother's life back. What do you plan to do? Don't tell me you want to kill all the wolves? Jing Yu frowned slightly and said. Jia Meng laughed heartily and said, Jia Meng, may not be a scholar, but I understand the logic. How can I be bothered with an animal for my brother's revenge? If the Mo clan hadn't killed the 9th young master, this wouldn't have happened. Jia Meng took a deep breath and said, but the wolf tamer killed my brother. No matter what the reason is, she must let me bring my brother's body back. I understand. Jing Yu nodded. She looked up at Xiao Chen and said, to be honest, we are also going to Eagle Mountain. If you don't mind, why don't we go together? What? You want to go to Eagle Mountain at this time? Jia Meng raised his eyebrows in surprise as he looked at Jing Yu's group. We are going to the Tokyo border, and Eagle Mountain is a path we must pass. Jing Yu paused for a moment before saying, we're in a hurry and can't afford to waste even a minute. If this Eagle Mountain is really a place where wolves roam, then we'll have to give it a try. I see. Jia Meng nodded in understanding. He looked at Jing Yu's group and said bitterly, although this young man's martial arts are extraordinary, the path to Eagle Mountain is not a good one. I can't be sure if the wolves will really come out. Don't worry. Jing Yu pursed her lips and said, life and death are fated. If we really meet, I don't know if you will die or I will. Besides, I am very interested in the wolf tamer you spoke of. But since you have made up your mind, I can't say more. Jia Meng sighed deeply and stood up. He raised his hand and pocketed the silver ingot on the table. He said, I'll accept this money. We'll head to Eagle Mountain tomorrow morning. Everyone please rest well. I'm afraid there will be a fierce battle tomorrow. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen had just come out of the relay station when they saw Jia Meng feeding fodder to the horses. When he saw Jing Yu and Xiao Chen coming out, he laughed heartily and went up to greet them. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen also smiled at Jia Meng. They packed their bags and prepared to leave. Finally, Fang Zicheng came out with a pair of sleepy eyes. When he saw Ma Jin, Jing Yu raised her eyebrows in surprise and asked, Ma Jin, what are you doing? I will go with you. Ma Jin carried a small bundle and said, Benefactor, you saved my life. From now on, my Ma Jin's life will be benefactors. Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others were stunned when they heard Ma Jin's words. They looked at the skinny man for a moment. Along the way, they had met all kinds of people. It gave Jing Yu a strange feeling. She seemed to understand something. The 6 of them walked towards Eagle Mountain. Along the way, Ma Jin was as talkative as always. However, his words made Jing Yu feel very conflicted. Fang Zicheng and Jia Meng were very talkative. Along the way, they talked about everything under the sun. The grandeur of the desert gave off a very grand and magnificent feeling. Looking at the desert made people feel uncomfortable, as if they wanted to shout out loud. Chapter 755. The 6 of them traveled for an entire day and finally arrived at the legendary Eagle Mountain just before sunset. The mountain was filled with tall rocks that extended upwards. Jing Yu could see the black rocks from afar. Jia Meng had said that this was Eagle Mountain. How is it? Are you ready? Jia Meng tilted his head and looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen as he asked. Let's go. Jing Yu chuckled and urged her horse towards Eagle Mountain. The path within Eagle Mountain was still sandy and the black rocks could be seen spiraling upwards like the Gobi Desert. It was very beautiful. Jing Yu looked up at the rocks and narrowed her eyes. These rocks were blown out by the storm. Jia Meng looked up at the stone wall and said, in the past, sandstorms were common in this area. Over time, the sandstorms created this shape. Now that the sandstorms have lessened, the Eagle Mountain has been occupied by wolves. Even ordinary bandits don't dare to set foot here. No wonder. Jing Yu nodded in understanding and followed Jia Meng into Eagle Mountain. After passing through the cliffs, they arrived at the place where those people were attacked. By the time Jing Yu and the others walked out of the cliffs, the sky was already completely dark. The moon in the desert was so round that it looked like a shining disk hanging high in the sky. Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others dismounted from their horses and watched Jia Meng walk towards a sandstorm. The way he knelt on the ground was unbearable to watch. "It's here, my brother." Jia Meng looked at the pitch-black area, his eyes slightly red. The scene of that day appeared in his mind. Jia Meng raised his head and roared, "Where are you? Come out! Come out! Your enemies are from the Mo clan. But why are they so cruel? They killed my brother. Come out!" Jia Meng roared angrily at the cliff. His voice reverberated around the cliff. Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others looked at Jia Meng quietly. Ma Jin's face was a little pale as he looked at Jia Meng. He looked around and swallowed his saliva silently. The surroundings were so quiet that it was a little scary. The lackeys of the Mo clan should be killed. Just as Jia Meng was shouting fiercely, a clear voice suddenly came from the top of the cliff. When everyone heard it, they were slightly startled. They all raised their heads and looked over. The figure standing on the cliff slowly revealed itself. Under the moonlight, there was a petite figure standing on the cliff. It was too dark to see the person's face, but one could vaguely see that the person was a woman. "My brother is a bodyguard for a living. How can he be considered a member of the Mo clan?" When Jia Meng saw the woman suddenly appear, he was so shocked that his body trembled slightly. When he heard the woman's voice, his heart skipped a beat and he replied angrily, "Their mistake is that they shouldn't have protected the Mo clan's caravan." The woman's voice was cold and emotionless. She moved her feet slightly and jumped down from the cliff. She landed steadily on the rock in front of Jing Yu and the others. The distance between them was much closer and the woman's handsome face was revealed in front of everyone. She had long eyebrows, a pair of pitch-black eyes, and a handsome face. Under the gaze of Jing Yu and the others, a wolf with dark gray fur slowly stepped out from behind the rock. There was a deep scar on one of the wolf's eyes. Only his eyes were shining brightly. He looked at Jing Yu and the others with vigilance. Chapter 756. Are you here to seek revenge? The woman raised her chin arrogantly and looked coldly at Jing Yu and the others. Jing Yu looked at the woman and the wolf beside her. For some reason, she had a strange feeling in her heart. This woman gave her the feeling that she was looking at her? It was a very strange feeling, and Jing Yu was stunned for a moment. Very similar. Xiao Chen suddenly grabbed Jing Yu's hand and said. Jing Yu suddenly laughed. She was about to ask Xiao Chen, but Xiao Chen said it first. Did you have this feeling when you first met me? Jing Yu looked at Xiao Chen and asked. Xiao Chen nodded and replied, but at that time, you were much fiercer than her. What? You actually said I was fierce? Jing Yu glared at Xiao Chen angrily. Xiao Chen opened his mouth slightly, but closed it in the end. He turned his head and muttered to himself, I like it. Jing Yu smiled faintly. This man. She could always soften your heart into a mess. I'm here today to bring back my brother's remains. Jia Meng stared at the woman and said, I'll give you one last warning. Even if you kill all of the Mo clan's caravans, can you really topple the Mo clan? It's useless, but it will accumulate a lot of hatred. Your husband is dead, my brother is dead, but he's also someone else's husband. Someone else's father. Someone else's child. Jia Meng looked coldly at the woman and said slowly, with such a big commotion, the Tokyo army will be attracted here. Do you really think you've won? What? The Tokyo army? The woman frowned suspiciously and asked, I'm taking revenge. What does that have to do with the Tokyo army? I know who you are, don't try to hide it. Jia Meng took a deep look at the woman, before raising his head to look at her coldly and said, to be able to control a pack of wolves, who else could it be other than someone with strange pupils? You're the imperial concubine with different pupils. The woman was slightly stunned by Jia Meng's firm words. Then she looked at Jia Meng with a strange gaze. In the end, she suddenly raised her head and laughed. That hearty laughter startled Jia Meng and he looked at the woman in confusion. What did you say? You said I'm the imperial concubine with different pupils? The woman seemed to have heard something interesting and blinked as she asked Jia Meng. Don't try to hide it. Look at the wolf beside you. The empress of different pupils has a wolf beside her. Jia Meng seemed to be certain of his judgment. Haha. The woman laughed out loud and looked at Jia Meng mockingly. Who told you that only people with different pupils can control beasts? Miss, your words are very interesting. Could it be that you can really talk to beasts? Otherwise, how can you control beasts? Before Jia Meng could say anything, Jingyu took a step forward and said. As she spoke, she looked up slightly and sized up the woman. Jingyu's gaze landed on the woman's waist. There was an exquisite white jade flute on her waist. She suddenly recalled what Jia Meng had said about the music he had heard that day. Her gaze paused for a moment as she looked at the woman. There was a faint smile at the corner of her mouth, and there was a hint of scrutiny in her eyes. Who are you? The woman tilted her head to look at Jingyu, but because Jingyu's face was covered with a veil, she couldn't see her face clearly. Chapter 757. Who told you that you have to know the language of the beasts to tame them? The woman frowned and lifted her chin to look at Jingyu. Her eyes were cold as she said indifferently, Liv, I won't kill you if you're not from the Mo clan. Don't come back to Eagle Mountain either. Looks like you really are that person with different pupils. Aren't you afraid that we'll leak the news that you're hiding here? Jia Meng's face turned cold as he looked at the woman. Different pupils? Hearing this, the woman's lips curled into a mocking smile. Her pitch-black eyes flickered as she said, If I were someone with different pupils, do you think the Mo family would still be able to survive in this world? Could it be that you really don't have different pupils? Jia Meng frowned suspiciously. After hearing what the woman said, he suddenly felt that it was strange. He looked at the woman and asked, Then isn't the 9th young lord the Tokyo's 9th emperor's? After Jia Meng said this, not only did the woman's face become strange, but even Jingyu and Xiao Chen's faces darkened. Who told you he was? The woman was amused by Jia Meng's words. Just as she was about to retort, the ink wolf that had been standing quietly beside the woman suddenly perked up its ears. The woman's expression changed slightly, and she turned to look up the cliff. Oh, whoa! At this moment, a clear howl came from the cliff. Someone's coming. Before the woman could say anything, Jingyu looked up at the wolf with the moon on its back. From the clear howl, she heard a familiar warning. That warning was so strong. Jingyu said these 4 words calmly, which immediately attracted the woman's attention. The woman turned her head and looked at Jingyu suspiciously. There was a hint of suspicion in her eyes. Enemies, there are many. Jingyu slowly retracted her gaze and said these 4 words to the woman with a serious expression. The woman's face instantly turned serious. She didn't have time to think about how Jingyu knew and how she could hear the wolf's warning. She took a deep breath and climbed up the cliff agilely. Jingyu couldn't help but praise her for her agility. Let's go. Jia Meng pursed his lips and said as he watched the woman disappear. I'm afraid we won't be able to leave. Jingyu didn't move. Instead, she lowered her head and uttered these words slowly. Then, countless troops rushed out of the Eagle Mountain, each of them armed to the teeth with bows and arrows. In the blink of an eye, they had surrounded Jingyu, Xiao Chen, and the others. Xiao Chen's expression turned slightly cold. He stepped forward and shielded Jingyu behind him. His cold eyes watched as the crowd slowly opened up a path and a figure walked out. Who are you? Why are you here? The person who walked out was dressed in black and had a short beard. He frowned as he looked at Xiao Chen's group and asked, We are just passers-by. Fang Zicheng took a step forward and cupped his hands. May I know who you are? The person didn't give Fang Zicheng any face. He said coldly, Who would dare to come to Eagle Mountain now? I think you are that witch's accomplices. Come on, take them down. The person didn't say anything else. Jingyu's expression immediately turned cold. Looking at these people, she didn't need to guess to know that they were from the Mo clan. Jia Meng looked at their actions and took a step forward. He shouted coldly, The Mo clan is really impressive. Chapter 758. When the man saw Jia Meng, he was slightly taken aback. His lips curled into a faint smile as he said, I was wondering who it was. So it's 5th Master Jia. Why aren't you staying in Gold Town? Could it be that you're back to your old profession of escorting small fries across the desert? So it's 2nd Uncle Mo. You've brought so many people to Eagle Mountain, and now you want to take people away without saying anything. That's just like your Mo clan, Jia Meng said with a fake smile. The man's face immediately turned cold. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly saw the light of the fire. His face lit up as he said, "Since it's Fifth Master Jia's friend, how would I dare to arrest them? Hurry up and let them go. Everyone, take care. I won't be sending you off." Second Uncle Mo raised his hand and waved. Immediately, the group of people walked towards the path of Eagle Mountain. They had only taken a few steps when the shadow of a huge wolf pounced towards Second Uncle Mo. "Damn it! Kill it!" The moment the wolf appeared, Second Uncle Mo's group of guards did not show any signs of panic. Without a second word, they raised the longbows and swords in their hands and charged towards the wolf. Such speed training made Jingyu's eyes narrow slightly. It seemed like the Mo clan had come prepared this time. Just as Jingyu was pondering, the wolf was shot to death. Jingyu's expression changed slightly as she watched those people brutally behead the wolf. They were laughing so proudly. At this moment, a melodious tune sounded from the cliff. Jingyu's body trembled as she lifted her eyes to look at the top of the cliff. Standing at the top of the cliff, a petite figure was holding a white jade flute. Melodious music sounded from the flute, from soft to hurried. The music was filled with a desolate aura, causing people to tremble in fear. Amidst the music, one wolf after another appeared from the rocks. Pairs of dark green eyes stared at the crowd below, filled with rage. Second Uncle Mo's men also had a change in expression. The music was still playing, and the wolf pack was still increasing. In the dark night where they could not see, wolves appeared one after another. In an instant, they were all surrounded. Second Uncle Mo seemed to be shocked by the sudden appearance of countless wolves. He looked at the woman standing on the cliff with fear in his eyes, and his eyes were filled with viciousness. "Release the signal flare, kill." Second Uncle Mo stared at the woman's silhouette and spat out these words coldly. Instantly, someone lit up a firework and flew up into the sky. Jingyu raised her head slightly to look. Suddenly, the flute stopped and started hurriedly. At this moment, it was as if a king had given an order. The pack of wolves suddenly went berserk and charged towards the Mo clan. At the very beginning, the pack of wolves seemed to have been directed to avoid him. This kind of situation made Jia Meng slightly stunned. "I remember now," Jia Meng suddenly said. "What?" Jingyu turned her head and asked in confusion. That day when the pack of wolves attacked, the same thing happened. Jia Meng looked at the pack of wolves that were fighting with the Mo clan and said, "The wolves seemed to recognize us and avoided us. They went straight for the Mo clan and we killed the wolves first. Looks like she doesn't want to kill you." Jingyu raised her head slightly to look at the woman standing on the cliff and frowned slightly. She seemed to see the woman's body sway slightly, but she continued to play the flute. A wolf appeared beside her and she slowly sat down. Chapter 759. Right at this moment, a wolf suddenly appeared in front of Jingyu, Xiao Chen and the rest. The wolf stared at Jingyu and the rest with a pair of icy green eyes, as though it was brewing a murderous intent. Jingyu looked at the wolf and her heart trembled. More and more wolves appeared and surrounded Jingyu and the rest. The stench of blood in the surroundings grew thicker and thicker. Right at this moment, the sound of the flute stopped abruptly. Jingyu's heart trembled and she turned to look. The lady on the cliff seemed to be holding her chest weakly as she sat motionless on the wolf's back. The battle here and the stench of blood attracted more and more wolves. The wolves and humans were in a killing frenzy. Right at this moment, countless people surged out of the Eagle Mountain. It was obvious that Second Uncle Mo had released a signal flare to call for more people. Initially, the wolves had the upper hand. However, as more and more people joined in, the situation changed. Wolves were still wild beasts. Without a leader, how could they withstand the encirclement of humans? Jingyu's side finally started fighting. The wolves pounced forward like crazy. Jingyu and Xiaochen each knocked one out. "We can't go on like this." Jingyu jumped out of the battle and wiped the sweat off her forehead. She frowned as she looked at the lady sitting on the cliff. She seemed to have sensed something. Why did she suddenly stop playing? Jing Yu frowned as she thought about it. Just as Jing Yu was frowning and thinking, she saw that the wolves were surrounded by the Mo clan people. The massacre was still ongoing. The wolves dispersed and the Mo clan people walked up the cliff as though they were trying to capture the lady. Second Uncle Mo, who are those people over there? When Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others retreated, they suddenly heard those people's questions and immediately frowned. I originally wanted to spare their lives. Looks like I can't do that now. The man called Second Uncle Mo wiped the sweat off his face. He looked coldly at Jing Yu and the rest and said, "They're just a few travelers. Just kill them all." After Second Uncle Mo said that, Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's faces turned cold. They looked at the Mo clan people who were closing in on Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. Their eyes flashed with murderous intent. They thought that the lady who tamed the wolves was a vicious and merciless person. Who would have thought that the lady who wanted to save them and only attack the Mo clan people? Now, she was being targeted by the Mo clan people while dodging the wolves' attack. What a bunch of trash. Jing Yu's eyes flashed coldly as she looked at the people approaching them. Looking at these people, I finally understand why the 9th young master lost his life. Fong Zicheng faintly sighed. The Mo clan members had already formed a circle and surrounded them. The wolf pack had also been dispersed and retreated into the darkness. They stared at the movement from afar and didn't dare to move. Oof, you can only blame yourselves for being here. You shouldn't have seen all this. The leader was dressed in black. He looked at Jing Yu, Xiao Chen and the rest as though they were ants. He waved his hand and the Mo clan people no longer held back. They waved their swords at them. Ah, what Mo clan? Jing Yu lifted her leg and kicked them away. She flipped her body and broke that person's neck. She turned her head and looked coldly at the Mo clan. She said coldly, "What kind of bullshit overlord is this? Is this how you dominate the Northwest?" Chapter 760. So what if such an overlord is destroyed? Jing Yu smiled coldly. Her body flashed towards the top of the rock. She tilted her head slightly and saw that the person who was about to climb up the cliff was thrown down by the people on the cliff. A cold light flashed across her lips. Such big words. You're still so arrogant even when you're about to die. The leader of the group, Second Uncle Mo, walked over. Just now, Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the rest killed so quickly that Second Uncle Mo was slightly shocked. He didn't expect that he had misjudged them. These people weren't ordinary travelers. If that was the case, then all the more they couldn't be left alive. Thinking of this, the murderous intent in Second Uncle Mo's eyes became even more obvious. The people around him closed in on Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the rest. Suddenly, a long howl came from the top of the cliff. The intermittent sound of the flute rang out. The wolf pack that was originally holding back began to move again. Awoo! At this moment, there was a sudden change on the cliff. Unknowingly, a figure came up from behind and stabbed towards the woman when she was unprepared. The ink wolf rose up violently to protect its master. However, it was stabbed in the thigh by the knife. The tragic howl of the wolf was heard. Jing Yu turned her head and looked in shock at the two figures that rolled down the cliff together with the wolf. They landed on the ground pathetically and spat out a mouthful of blood. Jing Yu finally saw how pale the woman's face was. Mo Shixian, if you don't kill me today, I will definitely tear you into pieces in the future. The woman clutched her chest. Her pitch-black eyes were filled with ruthlessness. The people behind her seemed to want to go forward and grab the woman. However, at this moment, Jing Yu laughed out loud. "Huh, what a good show." Jing Yu stood on the rock and looked at Second Uncle Mo with a pair of cold eyes. He was the Mo Shixian that the woman mentioned. She narrowed her eyes and said slowly, "I didn't want to interfere. Since you're forcing me, how can I not fulfill your wish?" Everyone looked at Jing Yu and was slightly shocked. Just as Mo Shixian looked at her with disdain, Jing Yu suddenly closed her eyes. A strange atmosphere changed. Mo Shixian's heart slightly tightened. He thought that Jing Yu had some tricks up her sleeves. However, he didn't expect her to close her eyes after saying that. Hee, pretentious, Mo Shixian said with disdain. Just as he was about to wave his hand to call for people to capture Jing Yu and the others, he suddenly felt that something was approaching from all directions. What is it? Emo Shirxian looked into the darkness and asked coldly with a frown. Everyone turned their heads and looked around. In the darkness, a pair of dark green eyes slowly lit up. When there was a pair, there were 2 pairs and 3 pairs. Countless eyes lit up in the darkness. Under the moonlight, the strong bodies of wolves slowly poked their heads out. Second Master, so many wolves. One of the guards from the Mo clan looked at the wolves that were gradually encircling them with fear in his eyes. His heart was beating violently. What was going on? Didn't they kill so many of them just now? Didn't they chase them away? Why were they here again? And this time, there were even more wolves than before. Who knew how many more wolves there were? There were layers upon layers of wolves. Some of them were on the desert, while others were standing at various corners of the cliff. Chapter 761. The wolf's figure slowly paced back and forth. Its pair of dark green eyes were filled with the aura of a wild beast. It stared down at the people below as if it was looking at lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Those wolves revealed ferocious gazes and bared their cold fangs, causing Emo Shirxian's heart to tremble violently. Family, have you ever thought that every dog has its day? Just as Emo Shirxian was panicking, he suddenly heard Jing Yu's words. His eyes narrowed slightly as he turned his head to look. The moment he turned his head, he saw Jing Yu slowly opening her eyes. A pair of resplendent dark green eyes stared coldly at Emo Shirxian. Those eyes were actually so similar to the eyes of those wolves. The moment Emo Shirxian saw Jing Yu's eyes, his face instantly turned deathly pale. He stared at Jing Yu in disbelief. Everyone looked at Jing Yu. The figure standing on the rock and the pair of resplendent dark green eyes scared everyone into taking a few steps back. Emo Shirxian trembled as he pointed at Jing Yu. He was speechless for a long time. So, didn't you want to kill me? Jing Yu coldly curled her lips as she looked at Emo Shirxian indifferently. Abnormal pupils. You're the 9th imperial concubine? Emo Shirxian could not imagine how all of this could happen so strangely. He originally thought that they were just small fries passing by and that it would be fine to kill them. However, he did not expect that the martial arts of these passers-by would be so good. He had really thought that he couldn't leave any scourge behind, but in the blink of an eye, such a frightening thing had happened. That woman who seemed weak to him was actually the imperial concubine of strange pupils, who was popular throughout the continent. Since the 9th imperial concubine was here, then the 9th emperor's, Emo Shirxian's face turned even paler as he thought about it. Xiaochen seemed to know what Emo Shirxian was thinking. At this moment, he took a small step forward and stood beside Jing Yu. He didn't say anything or do anything. He just stared at Emo Shirxian with a pair of cold eyes. That cold and arrogant aura, the eyes that stared at you with contempt, the 2 people standing side by side under the moonlight were so shocking. At this moment, a strong sense of regret rose in Emo Shirxian's heart. He had been arrogant for so many years, and he was the overlord of the Northwest. He had long been used to looking down on people. He never thought that he would make such a big mistake in this place. Is there a second person in this world who dares to be called Jing Yu? Jing Yu smiled coldly as she looked at Emo Shirxian with interest. Jing Yu's series of actions not only shocked the Emo family, but also shocked Jia Meng and Ma Jin, who were standing at the side, for a long time. Ma Jin never thought that the people who casually saved him were the current 9th imperial uncle and 9th imperial concubine. When he thought about how he was saved by the 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine and how he had interacted with them for so long, Ma Jin couldn't help but feel excited. His face flushed red as he looked at Jing Yu and Xiaochen with excitement. Compared to Ma Jin's excitement, Jia Meng didn't know what he was feeling at this moment. When he thought about how he had confidently said in front of Jing Yu and Xiaochen that the woman was the 9th imperial concubine and the 9th young master was the 9th emperor's, he immediately felt his legs cramping. No wonder the 2 of them were so shocked and looked at him strangely. It turned out that they were listening to a joke. Chapter 762. When he thought of this, Jia Meng's stomach suddenly felt uncomfortable. He frowned and looked at the woman kneeling on the ground, holding her chest in shock. He lowered his head awkwardly. No wonder she was so amused when he said that she was the imperial concubine with different pupils. Now that he thought about it, it was really funny. Because of Jing Yu's words, the surroundings fell into a strange silence. Jing Yu looked at everyone indifferently and walked down the rock towards the woman. The gray wolf beside the woman saw Jing Yu coming and lowered its head in fear. Jing Yu frowned slightly. She looked at the woman as if she wanted to say something, but she didn't. She pursed her lips and said, "Can you still walk?" The woman nodded and stood up, holding her chest. She looked at Jing Yu's green eyes in shock. Jing Yu raised her eyebrows and said, "You can use the flute to control beasts. Do you want to see the beast control abilities of the other eye?" The woman smiled and tightened her grip on the white jade flute. "I'd like to hear the details." Jing Yu raised her eyebrows calmly and turned to look at Mo Shixian. She raised her head and said, "Second Master, please stay here and play with the wolf. We won't disturb you any further." Jing Yu turned and walked in the other direction of Eagle Mountain. Mo Shixian heard Jing Yu's words and his heart trembled. He raised his foot as if to stop Jing Yu and the others, but the moment he raised his foot, 3 wolves jumped down from the cliff and blocked his path. Those cold green eyes made Mo Shixian's body stiffen. Those white fangs were even more frightening under the moonlight. Jing Yu didn't even turn her head. She calmly walked towards the outskirts of Eagle Mountain. The wolves that were surrounding them all lowered their heads when they heard Jing Yu's voice. Under the horrified gaze of Jia Meng and the others, the ferocious wolves looked as if they had seen a terrifying king. They lowered their heads and avoided her. This scene was very shocking. What was even more incomprehensible was that the wolves were looking at Jia Meng and the others with fierce eyes. This made them very worried. Would the wolves suddenly charge at them without regard for anything else? But this situation was only directed at them. Because they had followed behind Xiao Chen, they had seen with their own eyes that Xiao Chen forced the wolves to retreat. This situation was very puzzling. Why was this? Xiao Chen didn't have abnormal pupils, but why were the wolves so afraid of Xiao Chen? Jia Meng and the others didn't know, but Fang Zicheng knew. When he saw this scene, his pupils shrank slightly, but he didn't have much of a reaction. Who was Xiao Chen? The 9 emperors of Tokyo. Who could compare to his aura? The wolves were originally suppressed by Jing Yu. Xiao Chen's murderous aura had caused the beasts to have a sense of danger. They were vigilant and avoided danger. Half of the reason why Xiao Chen could scare the wolves away was because of Jing Yu. If it wasn't for Jing Yu's suppression, Xiao Chen would only be able to kill the wolves. It wasn't as simple as a look to make the wolves submit. Xiao Chen and Jing Yu's group passed through the wolves. As they walked, the wolves that had dispersed behind them closed up again. Mo Shixian and the guards of the Mo clan watched as Jing Yu's group left. They didn't even dare to move. Chapter 763. There were vicious wolves all around them. After Jing Yu and the rest left, the wolves seemed to have been set free and started to close in on the Mo family. Second Master Mo, don't worry. I will definitely send your remains to the Mo family castle tomorrow morning. Jing Yu's faint voice was filled with ice-cold killing intent. The moment Jing Yu finished speaking, the wolves seemed to have received an order and pounced on the Mo family members ferociously. Mo Shixian's expression changed drastically. He didn't even have time to reply as he hurriedly commanded his men to fight. As long as they could survive this night, the wolves would automatically disperse in the morning. Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the rest completely ignored the commotion behind them and found a high ground to rest. The woman seemed to be seriously injured. She didn't allow anyone to help her along the way and only sat down weakly when they reached a place. "Drink some water." Fang Zicheng handed the bottle of water in his hand to the woman. She raised her head slightly to look at Fang Zicheng and thanked him. She only felt much better after drinking some water. Are you really the 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine? The woman raised her head slightly to look at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen, who were standing not too far away. But don't we look alike? Jing Yu turned her head to look at the woman, her dark green eyes twinkling slightly as she replied. The woman saw Jing Yu's eyes and her heart skipped a beat. She seemed to sigh and exclaim, "I never thought that I would be able to meet someone with different pupils in my lifetime. I am Yi Shui, the last successor of the Sound Attack aristocratic family." "What? Sound Attack?" Jing Yu looked at the woman who called herself Yi Shui in confusion. Her eyes were filled with confusion. What was a sound attack? Why hadn't she heard of it before? Using sound to control beasts, using sound to resist enemies. Yi Shui took a deep breath and said, "It's normal that you don't know. A long, long time ago, the art of sound attack was lost. The Yi family is the last branch of the family. We live in the distant northern desert. The earliest sound attacks required the support of powerful internal energy. The sound that was played was a killing weapon." Yi Shui said calmly. "Speaking of which, I have some impression." Fang Zicheng frowned slightly and said, "However, the sound I heard was the sound of manipulation. In the land of the Western region, the people there said that a long time ago, music could control people's thoughts and make them do things." "No." As soon as Fang Zicheng finished speaking, he was immediately rejected by Yi Shui coldly. She said, "How can someone from the Western regions be mentioned in the same breath as my Sound Attack clan? The Western Desert is a place where witchcraft is passed down. Using sound to manipulate people is just planting a parasite in people's hearts. What is being manipulated is not people, but parasites. We, the people of the Northern Desert, use sound to resist enemies, use sound to control beasts. We can make horses return home, make wolves leave. Sound blades kill people without leaving a trace. Music can make beasts submit." Yi Shui seemed to be very excited when she said this. Her cheeks were flushed red. "But this is all from a long, long time ago." Yi Shui sighed deeply and said, "The climate of the northern desert is getting worse and worse. Many clans and sects are fighting each other and there are countless casualties. The Sound Attack aristocratic family no longer exists. Nowadays, who in the world would be frightened by the mere mention of the northern desert?" Sound Attack, internal energy. Jing Yu frowned slightly. She knew nothing about the internal energy of the ancient martial artists. Jing Yu knew nothing about it. Chapter 764. Then why are you here? Fang Zicheng tilted his head to look at Yi Shui and asked, "Who is the ninth young lord?" The northern desert has been experiencing drought for many years, and the sandstorms have been getting stronger and stronger. 50 years ago, there was a huge storm that chased out everyone living in the northern desert. The family of Musical Attack swore to defend to the death, and in that storm, the family of Musical Attack was completely wiped out. My master passed away 5 years ago. I am the last disciple of the family of Musical Attack. Yi Shui said slowly. When Yi Shui mentioned the northern desert storm 50 years ago, Fang Zicheng raised his eyebrows in understanding and said, "The northern desert storm 50 years ago was probably the biggest natural disaster in the past 100 years. You know?" Jing Yu tilted her head in surprise. Fang Zicheng smiled helplessly at Jing Yu and said, "Who in the great families doesn't know about this? Only you, the 9th imperial concubine, don't know, right?" Jing Yu was slightly taken aback and looked at Xiao Chen in confusion. Xiao Chen received the question in Jing Yu's eyes. He pursed his lips and said, "That is true. The northern desert is close to the northern pastoral lands. In Tokyo, I only paid some attention to it and didn't know the details." "Why are you in the desert of Tokyo City?" Jing Yu turned to look at Yi Shui and asked. "To find you." Yi Shui paused and then looked at Jing Yu and said, "What? Find me?" Jing Yu blinked in confusion and looked at Yi Shui and said, "I don't know you. Why are you looking for me?" "More accurately, I'm here for the person with the different pupils." Yi Shui pursed her lips and said, "Before my master died, he told me to find the person with the different pupils. However, he didn't tell me why or what to do after finding the person, so I don't know why I'm looking for you." After Yi Shui said this, Jing Yu was stunned. Wasn't this the same as not saying anything? When I first came to Tokyo, I didn't know the way. I didn't know how I walked, but I ended up in the desert. Yi Shui lowered her head sadly and said, "White Nine helped me along the way. Later, he became my husband, but because of a woman, I left in anger. I didn't know why, but I ended up in the desert. Bai Jiu? Fong Zicheng's eyes widened slightly. Ninth young master's name is Bai Jiu? Yes. Yi Shui nodded and said, White Nine and I met in Jianghu and fell in love. The heavens and earth saw us become husband and wife. However, I didn't expect him to have a fiancé. That fucking fiancé came looking for me. I was so angry that I left. No wonder the ninth young lord came to the desert to find his fiancée. Fong Zicheng's eyes widened in shock. He looked at Yi Shui and said, Then the ninth young lord is... he's not dead. Yi Shui suddenly looked up at Fong Zicheng and said, If White Nine was dead, you wouldn't be able to see me now. He's not dead? Fong Zicheng's eyes lit up. He looked at Yi Shui and asked, How do you know the ninth young lord isn't dead? Jia Meng heard Yi Shui's words and walked over. He looked at Yi Shui in confusion and waited for her to speak. White Nine was captured by the Mo family. They wanted to lure me out. Yi Shui took a deep breath and said, I have to start from when I first entered the desert. I wanted to go through the desert to where my master was buried in the northern pastoral. I met the Mo family's caravan, and they invited me to go with them. Chapter 765. Originally, I wanted to travel together, but I didn't expect to encounter a pack of wolves along the way. The Mo family treated me very well, so I naturally couldn't let the wolves kill them. Thus, I had no choice but to use my sound attack. I didn't expect this to lead to a series of events. Yi Shui's eyes flashed with a cold light as she said, The Mo family is ungrateful. They actually wanted to imprison me in the Mo family and use my sound attack to serve the Mo family. Naturally, I didn't agree. In a fit of anger, the Mo family actually wanted to imprison me in the desert, but I escaped. Could it be that the ninth young lord came to the desert to find you because of this and was taken away by the Mo family? Jia Meng frowned slightly as he looked at Yi Shui and asked. That's right. Yi Shui nodded slightly and said, When I found out that White Nine went to the Mo family, it was already too late. I didn't expect White Nine to chase after me. The Mo family wanted to use White Nine to force me out, so as long as I didn't come out, and as long as I wasn't caught, White Nine wouldn't have died. I see. Jia Meng nodded in understanding. He finally understood some things that didn't make sense before. According to what you're saying, the ninth young lord is currently imprisoned in the Mo family? Jing Yu frowned slightly as she looked at Yi Shui and asked. If it was before, I would have thought so. However, when news of White Nine's sudden death came 3 months ago, it made me suspicious. I felt that White Nine must have escaped from the Mo family, but I couldn't be sure. Yi Shui frowned slightly when she heard Jing Yu's question. Tonight's events have made me completely certain that White Nine is definitely not in the Mo family. Yi Shui raised her head and looked at Jing Yu and the others with a burning gaze as she said, If White Nine was in the Mo family, they wouldn't be in such a hurry to capture me today, and they wouldn't have brought White Nine along. If the ninth young master is not in the Mo clan, then where is he? Jing Yu raised her eyebrows and asked. I don't know. Yi Shui let out a deep sigh and said, Every time I use a sound attack, it expends a lot of internal energy. I've only learned half a volume of the sound attack, so I'm even more powerless. Let's not even talk about the fact that I need 10 days to half a month to recover. What happened tonight often happens too. Only half of the book? What about the other half of the scroll? Jing Yu was slightly taken aback when she heard this. When Master escaped from the desert, he was already seriously ill. Instructor and I passed away halfway through the journey. At this point, Yi Shui lowered her head sadly and said, Master's last words were for me to find the person with the strange pupil. Jing Yu didn't say anything after hearing this. The night seemed extremely long. When the sky began to brighten, Jing Yu, who was leaning on Xiao Chen's shoulder, raised her head slightly. When she opened her eyes, her green eyes quietly turned into a warm gold. Xiao Chen, I keep feeling that everything isn't as simple as we think it is. Jing Yu took a deep breath. The morning air was very good. Jing Yu turned her head to look at Xiao Chen and said this. Xiao Chen responded and turned his head to look deeply at Jing Yu. He raised his hand to pat Jingyu's head and said with a slight smile, "What are you afraid of? With this king by your side, you can abandon the world and follow through life and death." Jingyu curved her eyebrows and smiled. She raised her hand to wrap around Xiao Chen's neck and gently planted a kiss on Xiao Chen's cheek. Her golden eyes were filled with a golden light. Xiao Chen's heart trembled. He loved this look of Jingyu. He held Jingyu's waist and bent down to gently kiss Jingyu's eyes. Chapter 766. We should go and see if that Mo Shixian is only left with his bones. Jingyu stretched lazily and stood up. She turned and walked to the other side of the cliff. Fang Zicheng and Yi Shui had just woken up. When they saw Jingyu and Xiaochen walking over, they all stood up. "How are your injuries?" Jingyu looked around and found that the atmosphere was inexplicably different today. When Jia Meng and Ma Jin saw Jingyu and Xiaochen, their eyes were filled with respect and reverence. They seemed to be standing there humbly. "Much better." Yi Shui, on the other hand, seemed to be in much better spirits after a night's rest. When she heard Jingyu's question, her lips curved into a smile. "Brother Jia, now that you know the cause and effect of this matter, what about this grudge?" Jingyu raised her brows slightly and looked at Jia Meng. Jia Meng was slightly taken aback when Jingyu called him Brother Jia. Then, as if he knew that Jingyu didn't want to distance herself from them, a faint warmth rose in his heart. "Miss Yi is right. All of this was a coincidence. My brother deserved it. In order to earn a little more money." Jia Meng lowered his head and paused. "I'm sorry." Just as Jia Meng was speaking, Yi Shui suddenly apologized after a moment of silence. Jia Meng was startled and looked at Yi Shui in astonishment. Yi Shui lowered her head and said, "If I could learn the full volume of sound attacks, this wouldn't have happened. Miss Yi wanted to avoid the guards. It was my brother who met them head-on." Jia Meng heard Yi Shui's words and said while biting his lip, "I say, the two of you, stop pushing the blame." Jingyu rubbed her head and said with a headache, "All of this is the Mo family's fault. Destroy the Mo family for your brother and avenge yourself. It's that simple." Jia Meng scratched his head awkwardly. Yi Shui also blushed. "I'm relieved to see you guys getting along so well." Fang Zicheng walked out with a hearty laugh. Please. I thought you would fight." When Ma Jin saw that the atmosphere had become lively, he immediately smiled happily. His stuttering made everyone laugh. Jingyu and the others rested for a while before descending the cliff and arriving at the place where the Mo clan had stayed the day before. Upon arriving at the cliff of Eagle Mountain, the first thing they saw was a sea of corpses. It was unclear whether they belonged to humans or wolves, but all of them had been devoured. Everyone was disgusted by the sight of Mo Shixian's corpse. They had completely lost the desire to look for Mo Shixian's corpse. The wolves had also dispersed at some point. There was no need for anyone to clean up the corpses. Soon, a large group of vultures would come here and devour all the corpses. Jingyu and Xiaochen continued on their journey. Ma Jin and Jia Meng also clamored to follow them. The two of them were single and had no wives or children. Now that they knew the identities of Jingyu and Xiaochen, they were not afraid, only excited. No matter what, they wanted to follow Jingyu and Xiaochen. Yi Shui had originally come to look for the strange pupil. Although she did not know why she was looking for it, now that she had found it, she naturally followed them. The group headed out of the desert. As for the Mo family, Jingyu did not have the time to deal with them. Chapter 767. Shengguan Linglan's family and Lu Miaoqiu were still waiting for her. She couldn't let them wait for too long. "Fang Zicheng, you don't even have arms and legs?" They left for 3 to 4 days. Jingyu was completely convinced by this young master. At this moment, Fang Zicheng was sitting on a rock with his legs crossed. The servant beside Fang Zicheng was the quiet little bodyguard named Xiaoku. He served Fang Zicheng and served him food and drinks. Just look at his appearance, it was really unbearable to look at. When Fang Zicheng heard Jingyu's words, he immediately raised his eyebrows and turned to look at Jingyu. He said disdainfully, "You're still talking about me? Why don't you take a look at yourself?" Jingyu opened her mouth and took the meat that Xiao Chen fed her. She said proudly, "Your family's Master Jiao is willing to serve me. What else can I refuse?" "Xiao Chen, don't you think so?" Jingyu hooked her arms around Xiao Chen's neck domineeringly. Jingyu's posture was even more like a master's than Fang Zicheng's. She was sitting on a high-quality cushion. Her legs were propped up and her back was leaning against Xiao Chen. Her hands didn't move at all. When Xiao Chen reached out to taste something, she squinted her eyes and opened her mouth to eat and drink. From time to time, she would spit out a few sentences. "I don't want the fatty meat. I'm thirsty." Fang Zicheng was so much better than Jingyu. "Are your legs still sore?" The scariest thing was that Xiao Chen didn't feel that there was anything wrong with Jingyu's posture. Just listen to her. "A little." Jingyu carefully felt her legs and answered. Immediately, Xiao Chen put down the things in his hands and massaged Jingyu's legs. Fang Zicheng watched from the side with all kinds of envy and jealousy. "Jingyu is the only one in the world who dares to order the 9 emperors to massage your legs," Fang Zicheng said with a sigh. In the world today, Xiao Chen would still massage other people's legs? Jingyu raised her chin proudly and raised her legs to show off. Fang Zicheng felt a burst of pride and shouted loudly, "Xiaoku, my legs are sore too. Massage them for me." Xiaoku's face darkened when she heard this. She silently put down the things in her hands. Jingyu widened her eyes. Was Xiaoku really so obedient? However, just as Jingyu finished thinking this, she saw Xiaoku silently pick up the sword on her back and slowly pull it out. Fang Zicheng was so shocked that he hurriedly retracted his legs. He looked at Xiaoku in horror and said, "What are you doing?" "Young master, are your legs sore? I'll just chop them off for you. I promise they won't be sore in the future." Xiaoku said to Fang Zicheng with a hearty smile on her face, as if she was the leader of a family. "Haha." Jingyu burst out laughing when she saw this scene. Jia Meng and Ma Jin also burst out laughing. Yi Shue's eyes curved into crescents as she watched Fang Zicheng furiously chase after Xiaoku. Her eyes were filled with laughter. Yi Shue had asked many people about White Nine's whereabouts along the way from the desert to the border of the Tokyo, but they all came up empty-handed. They finally arrived at the border of the Tokyo at the end of April and walked out of the huge desert. "We're finally here." Jingyu looked into the distance from the sand dune and clearly saw a city wall. It was a small city at the border of the Tokyo. Outside the city was a vast and boundless forest, the Roman forest. Chapter 768. I can't wait any longer. Xiao Chen leaned over and pressed Jingyu onto the bed. Before Jingyu could say another word, Xiao Chen covered her mouth. The room was a scene of spring. They only left the inn the next morning. When Jingyu and Xiao Chen came downstairs, Fang Zicheng and Yi Shue were already seated and talking. When they saw Jingyu and Xiao Chen coming down, they didn't think much of it. However, Jingyu blushed and glared at Xiao Chen. On the other hand, Xiao Chen looked pleased and satisfied. He calmly sat down and poured himself a cup of tea. He asked, "Any news from Yu City?" "I went out for a walk yesterday and heard some news." Fang Zicheng pursed his lips and said, "The armies of the 4 countries are approaching the Roman forest. If I'm not wrong, Tokyo's army will reach the forest in half a month. What do you plan to do?" Fang Zicheng raised his brows and asked Xiao Chen and Jingyu. "Half a month?" Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes. An indifferent light flashed in his dark eyes. He said indifferently, "That's enough. Let's meet up with Xing Er, Linglan, and the others first." Jingyu frowned and said, "They've already reached the Roman forest and occupied a small town in the southwest. We'll meet up with them directly." "All right." Xiao Chen nodded and said, "It'll take about 2 days to reach Jinling town. The army will be stationed in Jinling town. 2 days on the main road. We'll cross the forest and reach Jinling town in 1 day." Jingyu raised her brows and said casually. Fang Zicheng blinked and looked at Jingyu and Xiao Chen. "What did you just say? Army? Cross the forest? But can't we do that?" Jingyu looked at Fang Zicheng in confusion. Fang Zicheng's face stiffened. He stared at Xiao Chen and asked, The Ninth Emperor's army is? He looked at Xiao Chen as if he still hadn't recovered. Do you really think that I, the Ninth Emperor's, only have a small amount of power in Tokyo's imperial city? Xiao Chen asked with a cold smile. Fang Zicheng, when did your brain become so bad? Jing Yu mocked without holding back. Fang Zicheng stared at her and said unhappily, I knew that the Ninth Emperor's power wasn't that simple. I didn't think that the Ninth Emperor's power wasn't just limited to Jianghu, but also the army. Fang Zicheng's eyes flashed as he said this. Xiao Chen heard Fang Zicheng's words but didn't show any expression. Can you guys not act so mysterious? Jing Yu looked at the two with disdain. She supported her chin and said, let's not wait until tomorrow. We'll leave immediately and cross the forest. We'll reach Jinling town tonight. Are you sure we're going to cross the forest? Jia Meng looked at Jing Yu strangely. I'm sure. Jing Yu nodded firmly and said, I've been to every place in the Roman forest. No one is more familiar than me. Jia Meng and Ma Jin nodded when they heard Jing Yu's words. They thought of the rumors about the ninth imperial concubine, a woman who grew up in the Roman forest. Yi Shui didn't feel much when she heard this. She just looked at Jing Yu in surprise. Chapter 769. Once this matter was settled, the group didn't delay any longer. They returned to their rooms to grab their things and set off immediately. They couldn't ride horses into the forest, so they had to walk. The horses could only be ridden to the main road, which was the outer region of the forest. After riding for a short distance, the group set the horses free and walked into the forest on foot. Jing Yu stood under the shade of the trees and looked at the tall trees. She took a deep breath and smelled the rich fragrance of the trees. I'm back. Looking at the dense forest, Jing Yu didn't know why, but she suddenly felt the excitement and joy of returning home. Looking at each tree and each flower, she felt very close to them. This made Jing Yu very happy. She nimbly climbed up a tall tree and stood on the branch. Looking into the distance, she saw nothing but green. When she looked up, she saw a few white clouds floating in the blue sky. I'm back! Jing Yu shouted loudly. Her clear voice came out from Jing Yu's mouth and echoed between the trees, startling a flock of birds. The figure standing on the branch was petite and straight. Her clean and neat black clothes seemed to be dazzling at this moment. Xiao Chen, Fang Zicheng and the rest stood on the ground not far away and looked at Jing Yu standing on the branch. At this moment, they suddenly felt that Jing Yu seemed to belong to this vast forest. The voice that reverberated in their ears had a kind of incomparable arrogance. It was as if the person standing on the branch was the king of this forest, making people unable to take their eyes off her. Jing Yu slowly turned her head and her pair of pitch-black eyes slowly changed. Facing the sunlight, they turned golden. Then, with a slight blink, the golden eyes turned dark green again. The two colors changed back and forth 3 times. Finally, under the watchful eyes of Xiao Chen and the rest, Jing Yu's originally monochromatic eyes turned into one golden and one green when she looked up for the 4th time. It was so enchanting and moving. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly with an aura of disdain for the world. Xiao Chen's heart trembled slightly. Looking at Jing Yu, who was standing on the high ground like a king, his eyes narrowed slightly. I understand. At this moment, Jing Yu's blood was boiling. Her pair of different colored eyes looked at the vegetation around her. She seemed to feel a strong sense of intimacy and a different kind of emotion came from all parts of the forest. She saw the white rabbit eating the grass as if it was carefully guarding against its surroundings. Its pitiful appearance made Jing Yu feel pity for it. She wanted to stroke this little thing. Just as Jing Yu had this thought, a very clear emotion suddenly entered her consciousness. The white rabbit looked at Jing Yu in fear and then tried to get closer to Jing Yu. Its soft and cute appearance made Jing Yu laugh involuntarily. Even though they were thousands of miles apart, Jing Yu could comfort an injured yellow deer, make a proud jackal bow its head, and make a ferocious lion retreat in fear. At this moment, Jing Yu felt like she was the king of all beasts. She stood at the peak and looked down on all beasts. This feeling was so clear and bright that it made Jing Yu's eyes burn. The boiling blood in her body almost burned Jing Yu. Jing Yu. Just as Jing Yu's mind was wandering, a soft and clear voice called out to her. Jing Yu's body trembled and she retracted her chaotic thoughts like the tide. Jing Yu slowly looked down and saw Xiao Chen looking up at her from under the tree. Chapter 770. That pair of cold, dark eyes was filled with tenderness. Jing Yu's lips curled up slightly, and she quickly climbed up the tree. She looked up at Xiao Chen and said, Xiao Chen, I think I feel something, but I don't know what it is yet. I feel that this is very important. Yes. Xiao Chen looked at Jing Yu with a slight smile and said, I feel it too. Xiao Chen was clearly an outsider standing under the shade of the tree, but now that he was standing beside Jing Yu, Fang Zicheng and the others suddenly had a strange thought when they saw the two of them standing facing each other. At this moment, they suddenly felt that no matter what they did, they couldn't get between the two of them. They were clearly looking at each other at the same level, but they suddenly felt as if they were looking up at each other, so high and mighty. Let's go. Xiao Chen raised his hand and rubbed Jing Yu's head. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he reached out to hold Jing Yu's hand and walked forward. Yes. Jing Yu responded with a smile and followed behind Xiao Chen. She smiled and said, Do you think my eyes look better with this color? Or this color? Or the dual color ones? As Jing Yu walked, she looked at Xiao Chen. Her eyes switched back and forth between gold and green, as if she was seriously asking for Xiao Chen's opinion. They both look good. Xiao Chen stared seriously into Jing Yu's eyes, and finally spat out these three words. Jing Yu was instantly unhappy. She pulled Xiao Chen's arm and said, No, tell me which color looks better. I'll use this color in the future. Jing Yu stared at Xiao Chen with a serious expression and said, Yes. Xiao Chen seemed to be very conflicted and said with a frown, If I like gold today, green tomorrow, and dual color tomorrow, will you switch back and forth between these colors? You're too fickle in love. Jing Yu's eyes widened when she heard this, and she cried out with hidden bitterness. I'm not a playboy. Xiao Chen put his arm around Jing Yu's waist and said faintly, It's all because of you. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen walked in front and laughed. Their conversation reached the ears of Fang Zicheng and Yi Shui. Yi Shui looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen enviously. Her eyes were filled with nostalgia and sadness. She raised her head slightly and looked at the leaves. Her eyes darkened slightly. That gentle figure lingered in her heart for a long time. That familiar voice seemed to reverberate in her ears. He seriously called her name and said that he would protect and take care of her for the rest of her life. A lifetime was really long. White Nine, are you really going to make this promise? Yi Shui slowly retracted her gaze and a faint smile appeared on her lips. Fang Zicheng sighed deeply. He looked at that petite figure and a familiar smile appeared on his lips. That smile was so natural that it made people think that Fang Zicheng wanted to smile. However, if you looked closely, you would realize that Fang Zicheng's smile was very fake. His eyes shone faintly as he looked at Jing Yu. He seemed to think of the Jing Yu who walked on the streets. He thought of the straightforward and rude Jing Yu. He thought of the Jing Yu who didn't care about her image at the dinner table. Xiaoke had asked him before, Young master, that girl was just a scammer. Why did you send yourself to her? I don't know either. Fang Zicheng could still vividly remember that his favorite path back then was the path that he had to take to get to the academy. That was because he would always see that familiar petite figure there. He would willingly go up to her and let her take advantage of him. Chapter 771. The relationship between the 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine is really good. Jia Meng and Ma Jin, who were following them, looked at Xiao Chen and Jing Yu with envy. Yes. Fang Zicheng lowered his eyes and said, They are very good. How did the 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine get to know each other? I heard that the 9th imperial concubine grew up in the Roman forest. How did the 9th imperial concubine go to the imperial city? Jia Meng and Ma Jin both looked at Fang Zicheng and inquired. Even Yi Shui, who was at the side, looked over. They had heard a lot about the 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine, but there were too many versions. They didn't know which one to believe. Now that they had someone to ask, They were naturally curious. You want to know about the 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine? Fang Zicheng raised his eyebrows proudly when he heard the question. He laughed and said, "Since you want to know so much, I will tell you about the 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine." This was incredible. Fang Zicheng began to talk non-stop. Everyone was listening to the story about the 9th emperors and the 9th imperial concubine excitedly. The main characters of the story had completely left the people behind. They were walking at the front. Their journey was originally quite smooth, but it was quite unstable in the afternoon. Why was it unstable? Because they didn't have a route at all. They just followed behind Jingyu and went straight into the forest. From time to time, they would encounter wild boars, hares, and all kinds of wild beasts. Did you think that a battle would start if you encountered them? You are too naive. What the hell is a battle? Fang Zicheng was completely confused as he looked at Jingyu hugging a huge tiger. She rubbed the tiger's head and shouted excitedly, "Wow! You have grown so big! Let me see your teeth!" "What sharp teeth! You don't dare to knock them off now!" Yi Shui, Fang Zicheng, and the rest were completely stunned. Roar! What made Fang Zicheng and the rest dumbfounded wasn't Jingyu's words and actions, but the huge tiger. Fang Zicheng thought that this tiger would definitely fight when it saw Jingyu and the others. However, he didn't expect that when Fang Zicheng and the others were ready, Jingyu would suddenly pounce on them excitedly, and this was what happened. After Jingyu's actions, the tiger excitedly rubbed Jing's face and wagging its tail was wagging. Fang Zicheng started doubting his life. Was the tiger in front of him really a tiger? Wasn't it a pug in tiger skin? Fang Zicheng watched as Jingyu patted the tiger's head. Then, the tiger obediently went back into its nest with an expression that said, "I can't see you." It let Jingyu and the rest pass through its nest. "This is a baby tiger." Jingyu smiled and said, "I still remember when I got lost in the forest and accidentally found it. The baby tiger fell and knocked its teeth out. I hugged it and comforted it for a long time. I didn't expect it to grow so big in the blink of an eye." Fang Zicheng's mouth twitched when he heard this. A baby tiger fell and knocked its teeth out? Fang Zicheng really couldn't imagine this scene. Chapter 772. Once there was a first place, there was a second place. Following that, all kinds of magical things happened. Jingyu acted as if she was visiting a relative. All the beasts that she met along the way would either retreat or be intimate with them. This simply made Fang Zicheng and the others' jaws drop. The interior of the Roman forest was indeed filled with countless wild beasts. Fang Zicheng originally thought that it would be an incomparably dangerous path, but now it was so smooth and unobstructed. This made Fang Zicheng inexplicably feel like he was dreaming. Jia Meng and Ma Jin were thoroughly convinced by Jingyu this time. So this was the legendary abnormal pupils. They did not expect it to be so terrifying. They walked nonstop for a day. When the sun set and night fell, Jingyu and the rest finally walked out of the forest. They stood on the side of the road and saw the lights in the distance. That was Jinling Town. Looking at the smoke rising from the town, Jingyu's eyes slowly curved. "We're here." The sky was slightly dark. Jingyu and the rest stood on the road at the exit of the forest. If they walked down the road, they would reach the entrance of Jinling Town. That was fast. Jia Meng narrowed his eyes and looked at Jinling Town not far away. He breathed a sigh of relief. "Let's go. The people in Jinling Town are all our people," Jingyu said with a slight smile. Everyone laughed when they heard this and were about to walk towards Jinling Town. Just then Yi Shui, who originally had a faint smile on her face, suddenly frowned. "There's movement." Yi Shui pulled out her curved sword and stared at the dense forest not far away with a vigilant expression. Her eyes gradually turned cold. Jingyu turned around in confusion. Everyone was staring nervously at the grass in the distance. They saw the grass tremble slightly. Then, under everyone's watchful eyes, a gray figure suddenly leaped out of the grass. The agile figure pounced straight at Jingyu. "Don't attack." Jingyu immediately stopped Yi Shui when she saw the figure. When Yi Shui heard Jing Yu's words, she frowned slightly and withdrew the curved sword in her hand. She watched as the huge gray wolf pounced straight at Jing Yu. Awoo! The gray wolf almost instantly pushed Jing Yu to the ground. In Jian ha! Jing Yu was pushed to the ground by the gray wolf. She was pleasantly surprised as she called out In Jian's name. Her eyes were filled with joy. Ha! Stop fooling around. In Jian used its wet tongue to lick Jing Yu's cheeks. Its body shook with joy and it was extremely happy. Everyone was dumbfounded. After the initial shock, Fang Zicheng slowly calmed down. Looking at Jia Meng and Ma Jin's dazed expressions, he suddenly felt that it was very interesting. Back then, he was also quite frightened. Now, he looked much calmer. He thought to himself, it's only one of them. If two of them came out at the same time, your expressions would probably be even more horrified. Just as Fang Zicheng had this thought, a sound suddenly came from behind everyone. Before anyone could react, they saw a gray wolf leap out of the grass at a terrifying speed. It pounced straight at Jing Yu. Jing Yu cried out in surprise and happily hugged the gray wolf as they rolled on the ground. Enfeng. Jing Yu raised her hand to rub Yinfeng's head. She rolled on the ground with mud all over her body. Chapter 773. Why you guys here? Jing Yu finally sat up. The two gray wolves wagged their tails and rubbed against Jing Yu's cheeks. They buried their heads into Jing Yu's arms. Jing Yu raised her hands to tease the two gray wolves and asked very intimately, Awoo! In Jian shook his body and looked in the direction of Jinling town. So you guys didn't dare to enter the town, so you waited for me here? Jing Yu patted the dust off her body and stood up. Her eyes flashed slightly as she rubbed the heads of the two gray wolves and said, Now that I'm here, come with me to Jinling. When Jing Yu finished speaking, the two gray wolves immediately jumped up in joy and circled around Jing Yu. Xiao Chen seemed to be very dissatisfied with these two wolves. After seeing them being intimate with Jing Yu for a long time, he finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He walked over with seemingly leisurely steps and raised his hand to hug Jing Yu's shoulder. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the two gray wolves circling around Jing Yu. When Yin Jian and Yin Feng saw Xiao Chen's action, they immediately bared their fangs, revealing their white teeth, and glared at Xiao Chen with anger. Xiao Chen looked at the two gray wolves and didn't give them any expression. He calmly turned his head and walked forward with Jing Yu in his arms. This action angered the two gray wolves and they kept howling. Xiao Chen completely ignored them. Jing Yu was being hugged by Xiao Chen and couldn't break free. When she saw the actions of Yin Jian and Yin Feng, she immediately burst into tears. It wasn't easy, but they finally looked like wolves. Just when Jing Yu had this thought, Yin Jian and Yin Feng opened their bloody mouths and bit the hem of Xiao Chen's clothes. This action finally succeeded in stopping Xiao Chen in his tracks. However, Xiao Chen glanced down and lowered his head to look at Yin Jian and Yin Feng. His cold, dark eyes hid a strong warning as he stared at Yin Jian and Yin Feng. Immediately, the two ferocious wolves trembled violently after being stared at by Xiao Chen. Under Jing Yu's expectant gaze, they ran forward like defeated roosters with their tails between their legs. Their aggrieved expressions were simply shocking. Xiao Chen, you bastard! How dare you bully my family's Yin Jian and Yin Feng? Jing Yu glared, her face full of frustration. How long had it been? Why were these two wolves still so afraid of Xiao Chen? I didn't, Xiao Chen replied without any change in his expression. You did. Jing Yu did not give up and looked like she wanted to fight with Xiao Chen. However, she was firmly held in Xiao Chen's arms and could not move. Jing Yu was both angry and amused. The people following behind Jing Yu and Xiao Chen sighed helplessly. They had a panoramic view of the scene just now. The way they looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen was even more different. When the crowd arrived at the entrance of Jinling town, they saw a few familiar figures standing there. Master. Without a doubt, the first to greet them were naturally Jing Yu and Shengguan Linglan, as well as Xiao Chen's two secret guards, Xing Yi and Xing Er. When the crowd saw the figures of Xiao Chen and Jing Yu, their eyes lit up in surprise and joy as they stepped forward to welcome them. Chapter 774. Big Brother Linglon. Jingyu smiled and went forward to give him a bear hug. Everyone cheered and laughed, talking at the same time as they walked into Jinling Town. Let's go in. Xiaochen raised his eyebrows and replied to Xing Yi and Xing Er. Jinling Town was in an uproar because of Xiaochen and Jingyu's arrival. Jinling Town had completely turned into a military base and soldiers could be seen everywhere. Jingyu and Xiaochen had rushed over after a day of travel. After a short rest and dinner, they gathered everyone together. Xiaochen and Jingyu sat in an exquisite house in Jinling Town. Everyone was finally gathered in the main hall again. Yuan Mingyuan and the rest sat at the lower end of the table. Shengguan Linglon and Jing Lang were also among them. Fang Zicheng and Yi Shui sat on the other side. Jingyu went straight to the main topic after a brief introduction. What's the situation here? Jingyu and Xiaochen sat at the head of the table and looked at Shengguan Linglon and Xing Er as they asked. Everything is ready. We can set off at any time. Shengguan Linglon was dressed smartly. He straightened his back and looked at Jingyu as he replied firmly. How did you guys get to Jinling Town? Jingyu nodded happily. She looked at Shengguan Linglon and then turned to Xing Er. Shengguan Linglon was slightly taken aback when he heard this. He looked up at Xing Er and lowered his head. We had an easy journey. Almost everyone's attention has been attracted by the commotion on your side. We'll disguise ourselves and head towards the Roman forest in batches. We'll be able to pass through without any obstructions. Shengguan Linglon raised her eyebrows slightly and replied. When this subordinate arrived, this Jinling town had already been flattened by Miss Shengguan. Xing Er raised his eyes slightly to look at Shengguan Linglon and replied. Linglon? Jingyu raised her eyebrows in surprise. Xing Er had brought tens of thousands of soldiers while Shengguan Linglon only had a few thousand. How could they have flattened Jinling town? As you know, I brought fewer men and horses with me. Our speed is also much faster than second interrogation officer. When we arrived, the bandits were wreaking havoc in Jinling town, but the people didn't know how to save themselves at all. Plus, the mountains are high and the roads are remote. Even the border towns weren't willing to help. When Shengguan Linglon said this, she frowned and said unhappily, Those dog officials, how can I bear to let these hundreds of people die on their own? I've made up my mind to occupy this place, so I'll first pacify the people in Jinling City. In the Imperial City, my father taught me how to deal with the plague. I sent people to get medicine while the people left behind cleaned up and burned the corpses. I isolated the infected people and cleaned the ditches in the city so that the water could circulate and everyone could eat. After a meal, the plague naturally dissipated. Shengguan Linglon sighed and said, In order to save me, many soldiers came into contact with too many sick people. They contracted the plague and passed away. When the plague dissipated, the people in Jinling City were very grateful. I told them why I came. They willingly left and gave up Jinling town. Some people didn't want to leave and were willing to stay in Jinling City to do our laundry and cook for us. When the war comes, if we lose, we'll be destroyed along with Jinling City. If we win... Shengguan Linglon paused and didn't continue. Chapter 775. I see. Jingyu nodded in understanding. She hadn't expected that to be the case. If I hadn't come in time, you wouldn't be sitting here right now. After Jingyu finished speaking, Xing Yi suddenly spoke up. His words stunned Jingyu. Then, she turned to look at Shengguan Linglon in confusion. When Shanghai Linglon heard Xing Er's words, he lowered his head in embarrassment. I would have been fine even without you, Shengguan Linglon mumbled in response. Xing Er turned his head away and didn't say anything else. What's going on? Jingyu frowned and asked the two of them. It's actually not a big deal. Shengguan Linglon's face turned slightly red. He lowered his head and didn't know what to say. She's also infected with the plague. Before Shengguan Linglon could say anything, Xing Er had already said this. Shanghai Linglon immediately glared at him. Jingyu was shocked. She turned to look at Shanghai Linglon and asked, Is what Xing Er said true? You're also infected with the plague? Aren't I fine now? Shengguan Linglon lowered his head and replied. Nonsense. Jing Yu stood up abruptly. She glared at Shangguan Linglan and said, "Did you forget what I told you? You can't take any risks when I'm not by your side. How am I going to explain this to your father?" Yeah. Shangguan Linglan shrunk his head when Jing Yu yelled at him. He looked at Jing Yu pitifully. From Second Xing's mouth, he found out that Shangguan Linglan had not only personally fed him the medicine, but also moved the corpses. She had done everything herself, which led to her being infected with the plague. Because of the delay, treatment was almost delayed. If Second Xing had not come in time, Shangguan Linglan's life would have been lost here. Jing Yu was angry for a long time because of this. She went to rest after learning about the situation in Jinling town. Before Shangguan Linglan left, he glared at Xing Er. If Xing Er hadn't said so much, Jing Yu wouldn't have known about this. If she hadn't known about this, she wouldn't have been angry. Xing Er received Shangguan Linglan's glare. He calmly glanced at her and left with Xiao Qin. Jing Yu and Xiao Qin returned to the room that had been prepared beforehand. Jing Yu lay down on the bed and rolled around comfortably. When Xiao Qin entered the room, he saw this scene. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he walked towards Jing Yu. "Xiao Qin." Jing Yu lay on the bed and called out to Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin replied as he took off his coat. "What's the situation like?" Jing Yu propped herself up and asked. When Xiao Qin heard Jing Yu's question, he paused and casually hung his coat on the screen. He walked towards Jing Yu and said, "Not very good." "Tell me about it." Jing Yu narrowed her eyes at Xiao Qin and asked. "Almost all the factions have been mobilized and are heading towards Roman Forest from all directions. The fastest to arrive should be Tokyo's troops. Xiao Jingran is the one leading them. With Xiao Jingran's personality, he will definitely face us head-on." Xiao Qin sat beside Jing Yu and wrapped his arms around her waist. He gently rubbed her neck and said, "As for the others, they are still on the way. I have already sent people to investigate the specific locations. We should have results tomorrow." Chapter 776. We can't just sit around and wait for our deaths. We have to take the initiative to attack. Jing Yu's eyes shifted slightly as she said, "General Shangguan's family and Miaoqiu can't wait any longer. I feel bad for them if they have to suffer for even one more day." Xiao Chen's hands continued to roam up and down Jing Yu's body as he said indifferently, "We'll talk about these things tomorrow. Right now, there are more important things to do." "Stop fooling around." Jing Yu dodged Xiao Chen's hands and rolled towards the inner side of the bed. Her cheeks were slightly red as she stared at Xiao Chen and said, "I'm tired. Can you let me go today?" Xiao Chen was silent for a moment before he said, "You can just lie down. I'll do the moving." "Move your ass." Jing Yu's cheeks instantly turned red. She gritted her teeth and kicked Xiao Chen off the bed. She roared angrily, "I haven't settled the score with you yesterday. You actually did that kind of position? Get out of here." Jing Yu glared at Xiao Chen. Every time she saw Xiao Chen's half-smile, she instantly wanted to hit him. Now that they were talking about yesterday's events, Xiao Chen was slightly taken aback. When he revealed that expression again, Jing Yu immediately flew into a rage. He even pushed and kicked the dignified 9th Imperial uncle out of the room. "You better reflect on your actions. If you haven't reflected on your actions, don't get on my bed." Jing Yu threw out these words and locked the door with a clang. Then she quickly locked all the windows. Xiao Chen stood at the door with a dark expression. "Yuer." Xiao Chen held it in for a long time before he quietly called out, "I'm not wearing any clothes." Whooshed. As soon as Xiao Chen finished speaking, the closed window opened and Xiao Chen's clothes were mercilessly thrown out. Before Xiao Chen could even move his feet, the window was closed and locked again. Looking at the clothes on the ground, Xiao Chen's face darkened. After a moment of silence, he silently went forward to pick up the clothes. Interrogation officers 1 and 2, who were hiding in a tree, were about to go crazy with laughter. Seeing his master being kicked out of the house with his own eyes, this feeling was really too good. 9 emperors? Just as Xiao Chen was about to fasten his belt, he heard a faint and puzzled female voice. Xiao Chun frowned slightly and turned his head to look. It was a girl who was casually walking over from the corridor. She looked very cute, and it made Xiao Chun frown even more. Is it really 9th Imperial Uncle? The woman quickly walked closer, and only then did she reveal her delicate and cute little face. Jing Yu finally chased Xiao Chun out. She felt comfortable, but she still felt a little shy for some reason. As she was lying on the bed, she thought that since she was already his wife, it seemed normal for her to satisfy him a little. Moreover, it seemed like she was the one who said that she wanted to satisfy him. Jing Yu blushed again when she thought of this. She lowered her head shyly and wondered if she should call Xiao Chun back. However, just as this thought arose in Jing Yu's mind, a woman's voice that was mixed with pleasant surprise suddenly came from outside the door, causing Jing Yu's body to stiffen. She abruptly sat up and listened carefully. Sure enough, she heard the woman's voice. Jing Yu's expression changed, and she quietly walked towards the door and listened carefully. 9 Emperors, why are you standing at the door? Why aren't you going in? The girl walked in and looked at Xiao Chun happily. Xiao Chun took a step back and stared at the girl in front of him without saying a word. His eyes were still deep and emotionless. Chapter 777. However, those who were familiar with Xiao Chen would have seen a flash of confusion in Xiao Chen's eyes. Is this person? Why isn't the 9th Emperor saying anything? The woman blinked her eyes in confusion. Then, she looked at Xiao Chen pitifully and asked, Don't tell me you don't remember me? Jing Yu was about to scratch the wall when she heard this. The anger in her eyes was rising rapidly. She had just chased Xiao Chen out not long ago, and now a woman had come knocking on her door. Moreover, she was calling him so intimately. This was simply unbearable. Which ear of yours heard her calling him intimately? Crying out of shock, was she calling him the 9th Emperors intimately? She silently mourned for Xiao Chen. 9th Emperors, it's me, Lin. The woman looked at Xiao Chen with an aggrieved expression. She walked closer to Xiao Chen and said, You were the one who helped me find Brother Yuan. Don't you remember Lin? Xiao Chen was still silent, but Jing Yu, who was inside the door, suddenly remembered. Wasn't this person Yuan Mingyuan's sister, when Lin? So, Lin is so insignificant in the eyes of the 9th Emperors. When Lin lowered her head sadly, she stared at Xiao Chen and said, It's all right. Lin just wanted to thank the 9th Emperors for his kindness. The 9th Emperors didn't remember Lin in the past. You must remember Lin now. At this moment, Jing Yu was already going crazy in the room. She held her breath and jumped up and down. However, there was no sound at all. Xiao Chun continued to look at Wen Lin silently. Then, he calmly retracted his gaze. When he was about to leave, Wen Lin called out to him again. Wen Lin looked at the door curiously. Then, she turned to look at Xiao Chen and asked, Sir, why are you standing outside the door? Could it be that madam? Wen Lin paused and carefully looked at Xiao Chen's expression. As expected, she saw Xiao Chen frown. She seemed to have understood something. She frowned and said, Sir, Madam is probably in a bad mood. Why don't Lin accompany Sir for a walk in the courtyard? Lin raised her head and looked at Xiao Chen with anticipation as she asked. A cold light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. When he was about to refuse, the closed door suddenly opened. Xiao Chen and Wen Lin both looked at the door in shock. Inside the door, Jing Yu's clothes were a little messy. She looked at Xiao Chen and Wen Lin with a pair of misty eyes. Why am I still here? I've been waiting for you for a long time. Jing Yu was surprised to see Wen Lin. Then she smiled at Wen Lin and looked at Xiao Chen coquettishly. Her tone made Xiao Chen's eyes widen. Wen Lin blushed as she looked at Jing Yu's casually draped clothes. Even her snow-white feet were exposed. With such attire and what Jing Yu had just said, how could one not think in that direction? Why are you still standing there? Come in. Jing Yu glared at Xiao Chen with a red face. She held Xiao Chen's hand intimately and dragged Xiao Chen into the room. She turned to Wen Lin and asked, Lin, why are you here in the middle of the night? Do you have something to say to Xiao Chen? Jing Yu covered her mouth and smiled. If you have something to say, say it. Chapter 778. When Jing Yu said this, she didn't let go of Xiao Chen's hand. Her words made Wen Lin Er blush. She seemed to want to explain something, but didn't know how to. In the end, she could only blush and say that she happened to pass by and saw Xiao Chen, so she casually chatted with him. Oh, so it was just a casual chat. Jing Yu smiled and said in an incomparably amiable manner, just a casual chat, and you invited him to stroll around the courtyard, and with a married man in the middle of the night. Miss Lin Er, you are really in a good mood. Jing Yu's blatant mockery made Wen Lin Er unable to continue even if she wanted to. She blushed and lowered her head, saying that it was late, and then fled. Jing Yu looked at Wen Lin Er's departing figure, and the smile on her face disappeared. She flung away Xiao Chen's hand and turned to stare at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen also stared at Jing Yu, then calmly raised his eyebrows and said, "Waiting for me? Come in." Jing Yu walked into the room angrily. When she saw that the door was closed, she immediately glared at Xiao Chen and said, "Stand still. Explain to me what's going on with Wen Lin Er." Xiao Chen was silent for a moment, then calmly replied, "I don't know her." "Nonsense. If you don't know her, then why did you talk to her for so long?" Jing Yu glared at Xiao Chen. When her words fell, Xiao Chen was stunned. "Did I talk to her just now? Are you jealous right now?" Xiao Chen was obviously in a good mood at this moment. He stared coldly at Jing Yu and asked. Jing Yu blushed at Xiao Chen's question. She glared at Xiao Chen angrily and said, "Don't change the topic. You better tell me everything about this Wen Lin. How did you two meet? Don't leave out a single word." "I forgot." Xiao Chen held back for a long time before spitting out these two words. "Xiao Chen, I'm going to kill you." Jing Yu was infuriated by Xiao Chen. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws at Xiao Chen. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Xiao Chen's mouth. He raised his arms and wrapped them around Jing Yu. He hugged her tightly and said with a slight smile, "You are really jealous." "Your head." Jing Yu raised her hand and pinched Xiao Chen's handsome face as she scolded, "Who told you to go around flirting with girls? I'm going to tear your face apart. You're going to be so ugly." Xiao Chen laughed happily. He raised his arms and carried Jing Yu horizontally. Looking at Jing Yu's angry face, his heart was filled with warmth. He said faintly, "Looks like you were eavesdropping at the door early in the morning? If I wasn't eavesdropping, you would have run away with someone else by now." Jing Yu said as she pinched Xiao Chen's face, feeling wronged. "If you were here, who would I run away with?" Xiao Chen placed Jing Yu on the bed. He raised his hand and pinched the tip of Jing Yu's nose as he said, "Didn't you ask me to leave just now? What's wrong? Are you regretting it now? You still dare to say that?" Jing Yu angrily kicked at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen nimbly dodged and lay down on his side. He hugged Jing Yu's petite body tightly and narrowed his eyes as he said, "I don't know how to coax people. If she's unhappy, I'll send someone to send her away." Send Wen Lin Er away? Jing Yu was slightly stunned. She stared at Xiao Chen with wide eyes as she asked. Xiao Chen didn't even blink as he replied. Chapter 779. There's no need, she's still young. Jing Yu frowned and said, "It'll be fine if we don't interact too much in the future," Jing Yu muttered. She raised her hands and hugged Xiao Chen's waist. She said bitterly, "You just stand there, and there are women coming to you. If you walk out like this, it will be terrible. Humph, you really attract bees and butterflies." Xiao Chen felt wronged. "Sleep." Jing Yu hugged Xiao Chen and angrily closed her eyes. "Idiot." Xiao Chen hugged Jing Yu tightly and gently kissed the top of Jing Yu's head. He murmured, "Other than you, I don't want anyone else." Jing Yu buried her head in Xiao Chen's arms and scolded with a smile. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly. She hugged Xiao Chen and closed her eyes. Smelling that familiar scent, it was so peaceful that it made her restless heart feel peaceful. When they got up early in the morning, The two of them had a tacit understanding not to mention what happened last night. Now was the most important thing, and it was not the time to throw a tantrum. The war was coming, and there were many things waiting for them. Jingyu and Xiaochen tidied up a little and went to the main hall. Jingyu had just walked to the entrance of the main hall when she saw Shangguan Linglan anxiously walking over. His slightly red eyes made Jingyu's heart tremble. She frowned and asked Shanghai Linglan, "What's wrong? What happened?" "Something happened to my father." Shangguan Linglan's eyes reddened when he heard Jingyu's question. He choked and said, "The emperor ordered that my father and mother be exiled to Luan City. I want to go back and save my father and mother." Luan City? Jingyu's heart shook violently and her eyes widened. Luan City was located in the northwest of Tokyo. It was not very far from Jinling Town where Jingyu was now. Luan City was also known as Luan City and was also known as the Land of Exile. In that place, there was no legal system. It was impossible for normal people to survive in Luan City. Diseases and massacres wreaked havoc there. Those who entered Luan City could no longer come out. Even if they did come out, they were mentally abnormal. They were either crazy or stupid. The people who were exiled from Luan City were practically sentenced to death. "Linglan, don't be anxious." Jingyu frowned and said, "Since we are escorting them to Luan City, we will have plenty of opportunities along the way." Interrogation Officer 1. Xiaochen also frowned and turned his head to greet him. "Yes, Xing Air has already sent people to investigate. They should be back soon." Xing Yi responded when he heard Xiaochen's call. Xiaochen nodded slightly and followed Jingyu and Shangguan Linglan into the main hall. Everyone in the hall had already sat down and was talking. "Ninth brother, you are finally here." Qinggu quickly stood up and walked over to Xiaochen and Jingyu as soon as Xiaochen entered the hall. "What's wrong?" Xiaochen looked at Qinggu in confusion. "I just received news that the Holy Family is here. The High Priest is here." Qinggu looked at Xiaochen nervously and excitedly as he said, "Even the High Priest is here. The Holy Family is definitely going to win this time. Ninth brother, ninth sister-in-law, you guys, it's better that they are here." Jingyu coldly narrowed her eyes and said, "Even if they didn't come, I would have gone to look for them." Qinggu was slightly stunned as he looked at Jingyu. Jingyu calmly sat down with Xiaochen and asked Qinggu with narrowed eyes, "Who is the High Priest?" Chapter 780. It said that the High Priest is the most decisive person in the Holy Family. He should be on an equal footing with the Patriarch. Qinggu frowned slightly and said, "I heard from my master that the High Priest has more power in some matters of the Holy Family. Moreover, the Patriarchs of the Holy Family and the High Priest have always been husband and wife." "What? Husband and wife?" Jingyu looked at Qinggu in confusion and asked, "Shouldn't the Patriarch and High Priest of the Holy Family be men?" How is that possible?" Qinggu laughed loudly and said, "The High Priest can only be a man, not a woman. The Patriarch of the Holy Family is the successor of the Saintess. Naturally, they are all women." Jingyu's mouth twitched slightly and said, "Then the Holy Family Saintess has run away for so many years. Doesn't that mean the Holy Family has no Patriarch?" "That's not the case. A country can't go a day without a ruler, so the family can't go a day without a Patriarch. When the Patriarch is gone, the High Priest has the right to choose a woman from the same lineage as the former Patriarch to be the acting Patriarch until the Patriarch returns. She will be baptized by the Holy Family and take over the Patriarch's position." Qinggu sighed and said, "You know, in the Holy Family, the High Priest's power is unparalleled." "So, the High Priest is here now?" Jingyu asked with a frown. "He's here for you, ninth sister." Qinggu said seriously, "The Saintess's husband should be the High Priest of the Holy Family, but now you're married to ninth brother. This is a great humiliation for the Holy Family. Moreover, ninth brother has abolished the sixth Patriarch of the Holy Family. The Holy Family can't take this lying down. I'm afraid the Holy Family is really annoyed this time. Once the High Priest comes out, Jio's sister-in-law will be in danger." Qinggu pursed his lips and said, "I've heard that the High Priestess has a power that can steal other pupils. but I don't know if it's true or what it looks like. Sees the other pupil? Jing Yu frowned coldly and said disdainfully, "Why do you have to be so tactful? You can just say that they wanted to dig out my eyes. What do you mean by snatch?" "Ha, ninth sister-in-law." Chingu lowered his head awkwardly. "It's just a high priest. If you want my eyes, come and take them. I'd like to see what this Holy Family high priest is capable of." Jing Yu leaned back lazily, and a strange light flashed in her eyes. She squinted at everyone and said, "Let's not talk about the sacred clan for now. Let's talk about Dongqing and Xiao Jingran's troops. Xing Yi, tell us about the specific situation between the various countries and sections." Jing Yu looked sideways at Xing Yi and said, Interrogation Officer 1 bowed and acknowledged the order. He stepped forward and reported the information he had gathered regarding the various countries' armies one by one. Everyone else sat down and listened, carefully analyzing the current situation and what exactly they needed to do to benefit them the most. The Tokyo-S troops are closing in. The Northern Pastoral troops are also following closely behind. The Cebu and Nanli are also eyeing us covetously. We don't have a lot of troops, but we have a lot of territory. I think the most important thing right now is to recruit more troops. Yuan Mingyuan slowly said after listening to Xing Yi. "Recruit more troops?" Everyone looked over and asked in confusion. "I agree with young Master Yuan's idea." Fang Zicheng nodded in agreement and said, "Right now, the 9th Emperor's and the 9th Imperial Concubine's relationship has spread far and wide. Countless people respected the 9th Emperor's. Even if the 9th Emperor's became a traitor, would everyone really believe it?" Chapter 781. As long as the 9th Emperor's is willing to use his name to call out to all the capable people in the world, I'm sure that there will be people who will come from far away to join him. After Fang Zicheng finished speaking, Jia Meng and Ma Jin both nodded their heads. They seemed to be saying that they were right. "Xiao Chen, what do you think?" Jing Yu tilted her head slightly to look at Xiao Chen and asked. "Scattered soldiers are difficult to manage." Xiao Chen frowned slightly as he spat out these words. "Now that you mention it, it's also a problem." Chingu said, "Which person in Jianghu doesn't have status? They all have their own pride. Even the idle tourists think that they are better than others. If we want to recruit them and make them obey military rules, it will take a lot of effort. We don't have much time. This method won't work." Jing Yu slowly shook her head. "Then let's start with the military." Fang Zicheng shook his head calmly as he looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Back then, there were so many people who wanted to follow the 9th Emperors, but the 9th Emperors rejected them all. Now, if we can persuade them to betray the Tokyo, wouldn't it be wonderful to have the military join us?" Xiao Chen frowned slightly and was silent for a moment. Then, he calmly said, "Back then, when I was the 9th Emperor's, there were naturally many people who wanted to follow me. But now, I am a traitor. If they join me and lose, their entire family will be executed. Do you think that there will be as many people following me as before?" Fang Zicheng lowered his head awkwardly. It seemed that even he hadn't thought of this point. Then, wasn't he now an accomplice of the traitor? The 9th Emperor's will not lose. The corners of Fang Zicheng's mouth curled up slightly. He seemed to say these words very calmly, but they were very firm. No one will always be victorious. Xiao Chen calmly closed his eyes. It seemed that he didn't want to say anything more. Fang Zicheng stared at Xiao Chen for a while and didn't say anything else. "Perhaps, even without the addition of people, we can also expand the team." While everyone was silent, Jing Yu suddenly spoke. Her words made everyone turn to look at her in confusion, as if they didn't know what Jing Yu meant. "Have you forgotten who I am?" Jing Yu chuckled and looked at the crowd. "Are you not Jing Yu? Isn't she the 9th Imperial Concubine?" Chingu looked at Jing Yu in confusion. "Could it be that you want to—" Fang Zicheng suddenly widened his eyes and stared at Jing Yu with some fear. Jing Yu's lips curled into a faint smile. Her pair of different-colored eyes flashed rapidly in front of everyone's eyes. The golden and green colors kept flashing, causing everyone to widen their eyes in surprise. He immediately understood the meaning of Jing Yu's words. She wasn't just Jing Yu. She wasn't just the 9th imperial concubine. She was also a girl with different colored eyes. If I can summon a herd of beasts and let the soldiers and beasts fight together, I think that kind of battle power would be very good, right? Jing Yu's lips curled into a faint smile. She turned to look at everyone. Her words made everyone gasp. What? Summon a herd of beasts? Qing Gu stared at Jing Yu in shock. You can summon a herd of beasts? How would I know if I don't try? Jing Yu's brows raised in a composed manner, and her arrogant and confident appearance caused the hearts of everyone to tremble. If Jing Yu was really able to command the group of beasts and make them participate in the battle and fight side by side with the soldiers, then how terrifying would such a scene be? Chapter 782. Everyone shuddered as they thought of this. Wild beasts were not scary, but a disciplined army of wild beasts was unimaginable. Perhaps the world was really going to change. Given the current situation, the various countries and sects should act separately. What we must do is to prevent them from forming an alliance. Fang Zicheng took a long time to recover from Jing Yu's words before saying, once they form an alliance, it will only be bad for us and not good for us. If it's possible, we should let them compete, suspect, and kill each other, while we reap the benefits. The corners of Fang Zicheng's mouth curled up slightly as he said happily, if we face the enemy head-on, we will suffer too many losses. The best strategy is to conserve our energy and build up our strength in secret. Yes, that will work. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows slightly and said, every country wants to get their hands on the person with the strange pupils and control them for their own use. They also want to destroy them if they can't get their hands on them. What we need to do is to step on this point, neither up nor down. How to do this will need to be carefully planned. Xiao Chen looked sideways at Jing Yu and said, I'm afraid you will have to work harder when the time comes. No problem. Jing Yu smiled faintly and narrowed her eyes. I like acting the most. Now that the Tokyo's army is about to arrive, how do you plan to deal with it? Xiao Chen's lips curled up slightly as he looked around at everyone. I think that Xiao Jingran will not act rashly. Fang Zicheng said matter-of-factly, no one wants to be the first to act. Even if Xiao Jingran arrives early, he will probably take the opportunity to test our strength. If that is the case, that would be for the best. Jing Yu raised her eyes slightly and said, the people from General Shangguan's residence and the Crown Princess were imprisoned because of me and are now being exiled to Luan City. No matter what, I must rescue them. Therefore, there must be no war in Jinling Town in the short term. Even if there is going to be war, we must think of a way to suppress it until I return. Jing Yu took a deep breath and said, saving people is not an easy task. Have you thought of what to do? Fang Zicheng frowned slightly as he looked at Jing Yu and said, moreover, there are wanted posters all over the continent now. There are also people from various sects hiding in the dark, eyeing us covetously. It's really dangerous. No matter how dangerous it is, we have to go. Jing Yu looked at Fang Zicheng with determination and said, this time, I plan to split into 2 groups. Xiao Chen will go one way, I'll go one way. Jing Yu said tonelessly, Xiao Chen, you'll lead your men from Jinling and take a detour to save them. Ling Lan and I will travel through the forest and infiltrate Luan City's outskirts to wait for our escorts. Once you've attracted their attention, immediately enter the Nether sect in the pugilistic world and meet up with me. All right. Xiao Chen thought for a moment and nodded slightly. He raised his hand and stroked Jing Yu's hair. Remember, don't act rashly outside Luan City. If I don't arrive, don't act. Jing Yu frowned slightly. After giving it some thought, she nodded in the end. While we're gone, I'll leave the matters in Jinling Town to you. If there's anything urgent, send me a messenger pigeon. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. He paused for a moment before he said, avoid the enemy if you can. If there's no other choice, what's there to be afraid of even if it's a battle? Xing, you stay here. Xing Er, you come with me. After Xiao Chen finished speaking, he slowly stood up. He looked ahead indifferently and said, after we bring General Shangguan and the Crown Princess here, we'll have nothing to worry about. When that time comes, we'll either shock the world or bury the dead. Everyone, be prepared. Chapter 783. Everyone looked at Xiao Chen and Jing Yu's departing figures in silence. Everyone present understood the meaning behind Xiao Chen's words. They seemed to be words of encouragement, but in reality, there was another meaning. Xiao Chen was telling them that at this time, they could still leave if they wanted to. However, when the time came for them to return, they would no longer be able to leave. Whether it was life or death, they were all together. Whether they carried infamy or good fame, it should be the same. Jinling was a very small town. After Jing Yu and Xiao Chen left, they stood in the attic of the courtyard. They sat in front of the window and looked out at the house and the forest in the distance. They lowered their heads slightly and saw the two gray wolves, Yin Jian and Yin Feng, playing and playing. Xiao Chen sat for a while and left first. Jing Yu held the teacup and drank comfortably until she heard voices coming from downstairs. Jing Yu looked down in confusion and saw Shangguan Linglan and Wen Lin walking over together. Shanghai Linglan walked slightly faster and Wen Lin struggled to keep up. However, Shanghai Linglan didn't seem to notice as he ran into the house and walked up to the attic. Jing Yu. Shanghai Linglan poked his head out from the staircase. Jing Yu smiled and turned her head to look. Why are you here? Jing Yu looked at Shanghai Linglan's energetic appearance and asked in amusement. There's nothing going on over there, so I came over. Shanghai Linglan strode to Jing Yu's side and sat down beside her. He grabbed Jing Yu's teapot and drank in large mouthfuls of water. At this time, Wen Lin, who had followed them from afar, finally climbed up the stairs, panting. Madam, Miss Shangguan. Wen Lin caught her breath and bowed slightly to the two of them. Miss Lin, what business do you have with me? Jing Yu raised her brows slightly and smiled warmly at Wen Lin. Shanghai Linglan looked at Jing Yu in confusion and silently turned his head away. He held the teacup and drank without saying anything. I heard that Madam and the 9 emperors will be leaving in 2 days. I specially got someone to prepare some things for the journey and will have someone send them over later. So, I came to inform Madam first. When Lin smiled shyly at Jing Yu and said, Brother Yuan also prepared some things for Madam. There's no need to trouble yourself. Jing Yu leaned back slightly and said, We're going to do something, not to play. There are too many things. But the clothes? When Lin frowned and asked Jing Yu, But the clothes? Xiao Chen only wears black. Those clothes are too gaudy. Jing Yu replied calmly. Shanghai Linglan, who was sitting quietly at the side, turned his head strangely and silently looked at Wen Lin. Then, he looked at Jing Yu as if he had sensed something. I see. When Lin lowered her head in embarrassment and said, Lin saw that Madam was so busy and Royal Uncle didn't have time. So, I took the initiative to help Madam and Royal Uncle pick some clothes. I didn't think of this. I'm so sorry. Miss Lin is so kind. You're even helping someone else's husband with clothes. Jing Yu smiled warmly. When Wen Lin heard Jing Yu's words, she immediately lowered her head in fear. She seemed to feel wronged and said, Madam Lin really didn't mean anything else. Do you hate Lin? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.